right. So here's the deal. I tweeted out about a week ago that I would answer questions because I keep getting people emailing me about my time with David Foster playing drums in Southeast Asia on this last tour. And then today I put on Facebook, hey, I'm going to wrap this up if you guys have anything more, and I got a few more on Facebook. So this is really cool. I'm going to go to these and answer as many as I can. All right, here we go. Daniel, how do you get those kinds of gigs? What do those artists look for in a drummer? That's a great question. Pretty much the same way I've gotten every single gig in my career. Relationships. I've got a friendship with a terrific guy named Matt Delapola there's 2 or 3 people I can think of in the music business that I've met over the last 35 years who function at a real high level of integrity. And I mean, like, you cannot find anybody who says a bad thing about that person. And there's like 2 or 3 of those people in my life, and Matt is one of them. Matt asked me if I could do it, and that's how it happened. It was that simple. I didn't audition for it. I didn't have to send a demo or do some of the things that I've had to do for acts in the past. I mean, it was, Matt and I trust each other, and I think he trusted me, and I definitely trust him. So I knew that there wasn't going to be any BS, that it wasn't going to be a tough situation. And that's how we did it. It was great. In terms of what those artists look for in a drummer, I think you just have to be solid, I mean, in David's case, his music, if you know his music well, he rolls with a really deep pocket. I mean, the stuff that he writes and produces, it's got a groove to it that is just slightly behind the beat sometimes, and sometimes right on. But there's also a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of different accents. There's a lot of different devices that he uses that are part of his signature style of writing. You got to pay attention to that kind of stuff, because if you miss it, it's like the hook. You got to be, somebody who can read well. It's a pretty high level gig in terms of technicality and being able to, really sort of hang with musicians at that caliber. I mean, some of the guys that are in the band have been in the band for decades, and they know every iteration of it by heart, every variation that David calls out or arranges from the stage, sometimes in real time. When you're in the middle of the show, he's calling out, different iterations and variations of things, and you got to know that stuff. And if you're new like me, you take lots of notes, you scribble things in the margins of your charts. I mean, you just really pay attention and really be aware and be awake and present in the moment so that you don't miss things. How long did it take you to learn all the music for the shows? Not very long. One reason is because I grew up with David Foster music in my life, and I've studied his stuff literally for 35 years. I knew the nucleus of everything pretty much by heart. What I didn't know were the arrangements, and that's where Matt and his team really, one of the ways they really shine is by efficiently and effectively printing out parts, getting charts ready on the fly. Matt Ross, who was kind of our stage manager and the chart wrangler, sometimes we would make changes, and 2 minutes later we'd have new charts on the stands. We had one rehearsal before the first show, so it was pretty quick. Tomas, I saw you on YouTube. You use Tama Drums. Are they the best? They're the best for me. For me, it's really about tour support and who can provide you with the things you need quickly. I had Tamas all through childhood, and then when I was 20, I played them professionally and had a relationship with Tama. And then sort of in my mid-20s to mid-30s, for about 10 years there, I played DW exclusively. And then when I moved to Asia and started doing stuff in Southeast Asia and kind of around the world, I switched back to Tama, because Tama they're just so quick. Patricia, who's my rep, who kind of takes care of me and keeps me in drums, is really sweet. She's awesome. Her team's awesome. Hendra and all the people that work with her. Not all drum companies can do that, and so that's why I use Tama. Besides the fact that they just sound awesome. I love maple drums, and I've always felt like Star Classics are really kind of probably some of the best sounding live drums you'll find, and I just really love them. So Shane says, what do you think the best thing you did to prepare is? Probably just knowing David's catalog by heart, all my life. When the symphony sessions came out, it changed my life, man. I'd never heard orchestral arrangements that way. The team that was on that was just so good, man. Dean Parks and Jeremy Lubbock, amazing stuff. If you have a chance to go back and listen to that record, it's just phenomenal. And we actually, Bo Cooper, the keyboard player, and I were talking to David about, we thought he should tour that record. He should go back and actually do, a tour of that album, and because it's just so great. I mean, it's just so rich with color and just fabulous writing and amazing arranging. And then from then on, I just started studying him. I mean, I knew every tune from Skylark to, you know, Shaka, to all the stuff they did with Earth, Wind, and Fire in Chicago, the stuff he produced in the 80s. Of course, when I was, you know, growing up and really coming up as a musician, that stuff, you know, Chicago 17 and 18 were huge when I was like in, you know, grade school, and it was just a big, big, big deal. And even, you know, stuff like the, you know, Water Fountain theme from The Secret of My Success and Gazebo, and, you know, all those tunes that were on that soundtrack, all the way to, you know, some of the stuff like One Good Cop. What a great score, you know. And so as a film composer too, I was familiar with a lot of the stuff that he did, and I've always loved his way of arranging film music. And so just knowing his catalog in and out before I got there was a huge, huge, huge head start to the whole thing. Gio asked, was your family cool with you going away? Yeah, well, in this case, it was kind of different because everything was in Southeast Asia, so it was fairly close to home. But normally, yeah, like I just got back from another thing. My wife is awesome. I mean, she's the best, man. She knows that if I don't tour, if I don't play, if I don't record, if I don't play drums, I'm a pretty miserable human being. Doing the thing that I love is what makes me a good dad, or what makes me a good husband, or, you know, what makes me a good person, really. And so if I don't get to do those things, it really affects who I am. And music is the thing for me that sort of fills my well. And so if I don't do it, she understands that, man, I'm not getting everything out of life that I should be getting. You know, a lot of the time she tells me, man, you need to go play drums. Your attitude sucks, you know, whatever. So she's really on it about it with me, and which is terrific. You know, for me, it's perfect. Michaela, isn't it distracting being around Eric Benet all day? God damn, he's beautiful. Yeah, Eric Benet, he's such a great guy, man. He's so terrific, really sweet, and so talented. Holy shit. And yeah, you know, if I was a young woman, single woman, or a gay man, I'd probably sleep with Eric Benet. Why not? Ben, when you were starting out as a drummer, if you had this gig then, would you have done anything different? I'm sure I would have. I'm 41, so I think when you're younger, you have a tendency, or at least I did, to want to be impressive, to want to be, to want to prove yourself, you know? It's like the Looney Tunes cartoon with the two dogs, you know, where the dog's jumping up, hey, George, you know, what are you going to... You're kind of that dog, you know, when you're younger. When you're older, you're George. And I think you look at yourself in a group of people like that more as a peer and more as a colleague. And so I'm sure I would have handled it differently. And I think timing is always everything. I really believe that. And I think the perfect timing for me in this situation happened. I'm at a point in my life where I'm not desperate for gigs, but I'm super appreciative when they come. I just look at it differently now than I think I would have when I was 20, 21, 22, 23 years old. Brian asks, what was your favorite song to play with David Foster? God, that's such a good question, man. I'm going to say Earth Song, because all of the artists come out to do Earth Song, and it's just a really powerful tune. It's a great production David produced for Michael Jackson. And maybe Gotta Be Real by Cheryl Lynn is a great tune, man. It's so fun to play. That's a classic David Foster tune, in my opinion, in terms of just how he phrases things. You run through something once, and he remembers about 30 things that he heard. The bass player, the guitarist, the keyboard guys, the background singers, the vocalist, the lead, the act that's, you know, fronting the tune, me, the lighting guys. I mean, just, you know, he's amazing. And so you'll run through something once and he'll go, okay, on bar 92, it was, you know, that's a dotted eighth, not an eighth. You, bass player, you come in on bar 4, not bar 3. He doesn't miss a thing. It's incredible. And on tunes like that, you know, there's a lot of different things that you've got to hit. Starts and stops, tutti phrases that the whole band needs to hit together. It's just amazing how he just kind of pulls it all together. It's fabulous. And so that was a lot of fun to play that tune. Evan, why do you like Sabian so much? Why not Zildjian or Paiste? You know what? I've been with Sabian all my life, man. I played Sabian from the time I was in, well, I guess, since I was 8. Since I was 8 years old. And I've just never Never needed to even look anywhere else. They're so great to me. Sabian's an amazing company to work with. They always have been. One anecdote in one of our rehearsals, I didn't like the crash. I didn't like the hats is what it was. They were too heavy, and I thought maybe we could try some lighter stuff. And my tech, Tigor Julian, who's a terrific guy, just made a phone call real quick to Sabian and said, hey, we want to try some different hats. Can you send some different hats over? And also, we need to add a crash to the right side of the kit, like a 16 or 17-inch thin crash. Just have one more crash option. And literally within 25 minutes, there was a guy there with a whole bunch of stuff, and we're just trying different things. And I mean, they're super responsive. So I love people who save me time. You can't keep the band waiting because you need new hats. I mean, that's just dumb, And we didn't. I mean, I played with those hats, and then when he got there, we waited for a break. And when we took our break, I switched everything out, and we were golden, Every person on that stage, if you waste even a second of their time, it's just money, like a sieve, and you can't do that. So you got to work with companies who have their crap together. David, did you feel any different about yourself now that the gig is over? Yeah. I think I feel different about myself after I complete every tour, or every recording project. It's I don't know what to say about that other than I'm just really, really grateful. I'm really grateful that I got to do it. I'm really thankful to David. I'm really thankful to Matt especially. I'm really thankful to the guys in the band. I just appreciate everybody, and everybody worked so hard. Feeling differently, yeah, I'm super grateful to a whole new group of people now, that I really consider really lovely people to me, and it's really an awesome thing. Jordan, how did the musical director work in the rehearsal, i.e. how were the rehearsals run, how he communicated with the musicians, the flow of rehearsal, was there a set structure to each one, etc. Matt Delapolo is our musical director, and man, musical directors don't get the credit they deserve. There's levels of music director. I mean, I've been a music director myself. It's a tough gig. I mean, it's a tough job, and I think what makes the difference between a mediocre musical director and somebody who is the creme de la creme musical director is that people like Matt Delapolo, they really care about their people, and I care about my people too, but I realized on this gig that I don't care enough. That's just something I got to get better at. It was just an incredible opportunity to watch somebody at the top of their game. The way he runs rehearsals, he's very expedient. He wants to be in and out, and we work. That's what we're there to do. And so when it's business time, it's business time. But the difference between Matt and every other MD I've ever worked with, and I've worked with dozens, the difference between all of those people and Matt is that Matt genuinely and verbally and even physically, in a way, cares about his people to a degree that outshines everything else. The music's important, the show's absolutely crucial, the preparation's critical, the sound is essential, but Matt puts people above and beyond all of those things, and that is the difference. That's what makes Matt the 1% of the 1%. That's what separates him from everybody I've ever worked with. And I'm not saying that just because I think he'll see this and I'm kissing his ass. And I think he knows that. I mean, I really, he's been doing this long enough to know that that's just the way to win, as an MD. There's a lot of little details I could give you about just the way he does things and just, but the overarching observation was just super empathetic to, he wanted to know how our hotel room was. He wanted to know how the food was. Are we comfortable? Do we have all our gear? How was the ride over from the hotel? Just the smallest little details and nuances he was super concerned about and wanted to know, make sure that everybody was taken care of, and everybody was cool. And if people weren't taken care of, he dealt with it. He would go to where the decision could be made, and he would make them make the decision. He's no bullshit in service to taking care of his people. And that's, you just can't ask for more than that. Jason, was it nerve-wracking sitting in the spot usually occupied by JR? In other words, were you shitting yourself? Yeah. Yeah. John Robinson, for those of you who don't know, is David's regular drummer. He's been with David for decades, and you know, JR is, I mean, first of all, if you're a drummer and you don't know who JR is, then you've been living under a rock. One of the best working today. Easy. I grew up listening to JR. I grew up studying JR. You can't escape his work. It's ubiquitous across rock and pop and R&B. Yeah, at first you're kind of going, holy crap, I don't belong here. But then you sort of realize, like, he's kind of set it up for you in a way. You know, it's like you're stepping into a legacy situation that this is what it's like. And this is something that I learned on this gig. Any vocalist who's good could sing I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston, written by Dolly Parton, produced by David Foster. Any vocalist who can hit those notes is going to sound fabulous singing that song because of the way it's written. If you just hit the notes, you're going to sound amazing. And that's kind of how it is stepping in for JR, you know, filling in for JR. If you just hit the notes, you're already going to be a superstar. And then it's just a matter of getting comfortable with the situation while not deviating from serving the song. You know, you got to service the music. It's all about the tunes. And so you know, yeah, at first it's a little bit of a nail biter because you realize, oh my God, I'm sitting where JR is supposed to sit, you know. But then you realize, like, he's kind of set you up for success in a way. You know, you're stepping into a legacy situation that has been occupied by the same guy for years. It's like you're house sitting for him, you know. It's like musical house sitting. It's really great. It's really fabulous, and you just feel like not only are you supposed to be there, but it's okay that you're there, and you're just holding down the fort. And if you just pay attention and have fun and make it your own, everything's going to be great. And it was, and that's exactly how it was. So, you know, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to JR for just his consistency throughout the years in that gig. I mean, it's just, you know, man, it's such a secure place to be as a drummer, to step into a situation like that where you kind of already know, like, what you're gonna do. You kind of already know what needs to be done, and you just want to step in and do it to the best of your ability and just tweak a few things to make it your own, you know. And it's fabulous. I mean, those are the kinds of gigs you dream about, you know. It was awesome. Liam, sensitive question alert. Did it pay well enough to really support yourself with headroom to spare? Yeah, it's a pro gig. I mean, these guys, you know, that's the thing. And I've done a lot of gigs for a lot of pop artists. I've done a lot of tours with, you know, soul acts and R&B acts and stuff like that. And this was the best of both worlds. I'm working with my childhood idol and getting paid for it. Yeah, there was never any issues. There were never any, you know, question about anything. Everything was brilliantly laid out and straightforward. You know, David Foster's kind of the pinnacle of professionalism. That's why he's who he is. You know, that's why they are who they are. I heard somebody say, if you want to be an anomaly, behave like an anomaly. And that's David Foster. Alani, how do you keep putting yourself in front of the right people? It's a numbers game, you know, and it also depends on where you're at in your career. I put myself in front of as many people who don't work out as I do that do. And it's important to realize that, I think, for people who are just starting out. But the thing about it being a numbers game is, eventually, you know, when you're first starting out and you work with all these people, you have a good vibe or a good result from only 5 of them. So you keep those 5 and you discard the 15 that didn't work out, and you just never go back. And then you work with 20 more, and the same thing. 5 are great, 15 are crap. Now you have 10 clients that you can work with and that you can, you know, repeat collaboration with. With time, you build it out so that you're only working with people who you really dig, you know, and you just don't work with people you don't dig anymore. The more people you work with, the wider your network gets over time, the better the ratio comes out in your favor, you know, eventually. Novi asks, I was in the audience at Java Jazz and you guys were great. David Foster seems really cool. Is he cool in real life? He's the coolest in real life. That was real life, Novi. You were there. That was real life, okay? That's the way he is all the time. And I think I'll end this on this one because this is really a great question. And you know, I've been told many times, never work with your heroes, you know? And it's been hit and miss, you know, throughout my career. I've had the opportunity to work with several of my musical heroes, and I'd say it's been about an 80-20 deal. 20% of them working out really well, and 80% of them being mildly to moderately disappointing. Only a few were disastrously disappointing, luckily. But generally, I think that advice is pretty accurate. So I was very, very happy and very, very fortunate and very... I wasn't surprised, but I was grateful that David Foster is an awesome guy. And he treated me like gold. And I know I screwed some things up. You know, I know I clammed some stuff here and there. I just, you know, I'm the new guy. I mean, I'm, you know. But he was always reassuring, you know. There was, I do remember one time on stage, I clammed something, and he looked at me, and I went like that, and he goes, you know, and it was like, it was just great, you know, and it just put me at ease, and it was just awesome, you know, and that's the way he is on and off stage. He's a real person. He loves to talk about music. He loves to BS about, you know, production. We did that a lot. He asked me and two of the other guys in the band what our Desert Island album was, and we had a great conversation surrounding that. He's a fabulous dude, you know, and I'm really, really delighted to report and to say that, you know, being such a hero to me musically and somebody who was so influential on me in my own music, in my own writing, and my own production, I'm so thrilled that he was he's just a really great dude, you know. He's somebody you want to hang with, you know. He's so easy to hang with, and musically he asks for your suggestions. He incorporates your feedback. He's not this one of these, you know, dictators. No, we're doing it this way. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we sat around and tried to figure out how can we make this better? How can we do this? How can we end this? How can we spice this up in the middle? You know, we've been doing this for years, and let's do something different with it. Let's put a gospel feel to this, and you know, I mean, so many of those conversations. And so it was really truly an honor to get to work with him, and you know, I look back on it and I don't have one single regret about any of it, you know. Just freaking awesome, and I'm looking forward to more, you know. So thanks, you guys. This was awesome. I mean, really, I didn't anticipate such great questions. It's really, really cool that you guys pay attention, and you know, I'll do this again. You know, I'll do this again for some other topic. So awesome. Thanks a million.